Close your eyes. Imagine a volcano. What does it look like?
Pointy, like in triangles, and lava coming out the top.
Every kid draws that. Every adult, too. At some point, we all agreed on what a volcano looks like. But what if I told you there are actually 4 different types of volcano that look completely different from each other? And you can find all 4 of them in one place on Earth. I'm Erica, and these are my kids.
Big and little.
We also have Cyrus here, the resident science brain and my partner. Our brains work best when we're moving, when we can touch things, when we can ask questions the second we think of them. Traditional classrooms weren't really built for us, so we're room-schooling, learning our way through all 63 national parks, one trail at a time. See that sign, Lassen Volcanic National Park? We're in.
Where is everybody?
Well, that's the thing. Lassen gets between 250,000 and 500,000 visitors a year. Yosemite gets almost 4 million. Yellowstone, 4.5 million. Lassen is being touted on social media as one of the most underrated parks in the system, and we are here to figure out why. Here's what I think. Lassen flies under the radar because it's a cowboy, a maverick. This whole park is a rule breaker, or really just a rule bender. And when I say rules, I mean the actual rules of science, the things that are supposed to be true everywhere. Today, on one hike, we're going to catch Lassen bending 5 of them. 5 rules. I'll call each one out as we reach it, so keep a tally with me. Rule number 1 is the big one, and it's already all around us. Most volcanic regions produce just one type of volcano. Hawaii's are all shield volcanoes. That means flat, wide, runny lava spreading in every direction. The Cascades, the range we're driving through right now, mostly make those tall, pointy, composite volcanoes, like Rainier and Shasta. One region, one kind. But Lassen, it's like someone blended up an earth science textbook and paper-mache'd the whole volcano chapter across this one park. The thing that determines what type of volcano it becomes is really the thickness of the lava. It's all the same molten rock, but whether it runs thin like syrup or too stiff to move at all is really the difference between one mountain and another. The runniest lava creates shield volcanoes. Instead of piling up, it spreads out flat in every direction. Prospect Peak right over there barely looks like a volcano at all. The lava sprawled out sideways. The second type, the really dusty ones, are the cinder cones. Gassy lava explodes into the air, cools into little pebbles called scoria, and piles up into a steep gravel hill. There is a volcano in this park literally called Cinder Cone. If the lava is even thicker, you get a composite volcano, the tall, pointy one, closer to what you thought of at the beginning of this episode. These volcanoes are built in alternating layers of lava and ash over thousands of years. The ancient composite volcano this whole park grew out of was called Mount Tehama. Over tens of thousands of years, glaciers and acid wore most of it away. Broke-off Mountain is the biggest piece left standing, and the thickest lava creates plug domes. This lava is so thick it can't even flow anywhere. It just piles up directly over the vent like toothpaste, squeezing out and stacking on top of the tube. Lassen Peak is the largest plug dome volcano on Earth. Here's the sneaky part. A plug dome sounds kind of safe, right? Like the volcano sealed itself shut, cork in a bottle. Done. But underneath that plug, gases are building. Steam, sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide, all of it is pressing against that thick, sticky cap of rock with nowhere to go. Lassen volcanic eruptions started in 1914. They were small at first, steam vents, minor blasts. And then, on May 19th, 1915, the plug shattered. Glowing blocks of rock crashed down on the snow-covered slopes and melted the snowpack into rivers of mud called lahars that flooded the valleys below. 3 days later came the main event. An ash column shot more than 30,000 feet into the sky, seen from 100 miles away. It's called a pyroclastic flow, an avalanche of superheated gas and shattered rock, and it tore down the mountainside and triggered more mud flows that swept for miles down Lost Creek and Hat Creek. The eruptions went on for 3 years. I want to show you something.
What is that?
That is the first hint of the volcano we're about to see. It's one big boulder, 300 tons of pure lava rock. When Lassen erupted more than 100 years ago, the avalanche off the mountain carried this boulder 5 miles from the crater. It was so hot when it landed that it stayed warm for days, hot enough to set nearby logs on fire. So you know what they called it?
Hot rock.
Yes, hot rock.
Can we touch it?
Yes, it's not hot anymore. It's been over 100 years. You can even climb on it. There are hundreds of butterflies fluttering around us, landing on the rock, resting for a bit, and then taking off. But just this rock, nowhere else.
Except on me.
Yeah, there's one on your pants. These are California tortoiseshells. They migrate up to high elevation in summer to wait out the heat down below. This black rock soaks up the sun and holds its warmth, and they're drawn to it.
What's on my finger? Look.
They're actually borrowing your body heat. This rock that was too hot to touch 100 years ago is now a butterfly warming station, and we kind of interrupted them halfway through their migration. We're here in early June, which some would say is too early for this park. Many of the trails are still closed, and there's still snow on the ground. Even the trailhead to Bumpass Hell, which is arguably the main draw of this park, is still closed.
Oh no, that's why we came here.
I know, sweeties. Lassen gets a ton of snow each year, and some of it just hasn't given up yet. But don't worry. Here's what this chaotic and honestly slightly awkward park is trying to teach us. Sometimes it's okay to bend a rule. So when I heard Bumpass was closed, I went on Reddit, and I learned that you can actually get into Bumpass Hell the back way, starting from Kings Creek Trailhead. So let's go that way.
Is that bubbles coming out of that lake?
Yes, that's cold boiling lake, and that's the second rule this park bends. Well, this one doesn't so much bend the rules of science as play a trick on you. Hey, Cyrus, what temperature does water boil at?
Normally it boils around 212 degrees Fahrenheit, but at high altitudes with the lower pressure, it's going to boil at 198.
And the lake is?
It's fed by snowmelt. It's probably 40, maybe 45 degrees. It cannot possibly be boiling.
So what's making those bubbles?
It's actually CO2, carbon dioxide. It comes up through the volcanic rock from below. It's the same gas as your sparkling water.
Savory water?
Yep, cold water that looks just like it's boiling. Not breaking the rules of science, just bending them and trying to trick us. Let's keep climbing. We've got a ways to go.
Wait a second. Did you fart?
Nope, that's just Bumpass.
Who is Bumpass?
We'll find out in a minute. But first, tell me, what does it smell like?
Farts. Rotten eggs.
Yeah, that's volcanic gas. More specifically, hydrogen sulfide. And if you think it's stinky now, it's only going to get stronger as we get closer.
Ew.
Almost there. All right, this is Bumpass Hell. The whole mountainside just opens up. The trees disappear, and there is not a blade of grass in sight. And below us is this giant bowl, scooped right out of the earth. The ground is like an alien-looking bone, ashen white. The hillsides are streaked with sulfur yellow and rusty orange, kind of like somebody airbrushed or tipped over cans of paint. Nothing grows down there, not even a tree, a shrub, not a single blade of grass, and it's all moving. Steam is billowing straight up out of the ground in a dozen places at once, drifting sideways when the wind catches it. And down in the low spots sit pools of water. Some are this milky gray, some are such a bright blue that it looks fake. And the whole basin is hissing and bubbling and gurgling, like the ground itself is alive. Miles below us, there's still molten rock that never cooled, and the rainwater and snowmelt seep down through the cracks in the volcanic rock. They superheat near that magma and soak up the gases rising from it. That's sulfur dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, and by the time the water fights its way back to the surface, it isn't really water anymore. It's acid. And acid, over thousands of years, creates this crazy scene. All right, guys, look where we're standing. See, we're on a boardwalk. It's not here for the view. Everything that we've been watching, the boiling mud, that roaring vent over there, the acid, it's all happening right under the ground. And the ground here is thin. It's just a crust, barely holding a lid on the boiling stuff underneath. And from up here, you can't always tell which is which. That's the third rule Lassen breaks, and it's exactly why we stay on the boardwalk.
But what happens off of it?
Well, let me tell you a little story. There was once a man named Kendall Bumpass, a hunter and a prospector who came through here in 1864 looking for his stray cattle. When he got back, he told everyone, "Boys, I have been to hell." And the name Bumpass Hell stuck. A while later, he came back with a newspaper editor to show it off. He was out front, leading the group, warning everybody, watch your step, the crust can be thin here, be careful. And then Kendall Bumpass broke through the crust and plunged into boiling mud.
While he was warning people?
Yep, mid-sentence.
Did he die?
No, but the burns were so bad his leg had to be amputated. Do you know what that means?
Yes. Amputated means he got his leg cut off.
Ouch! He survived. And every visitor since has been told to stay on the boardwalk.
You can slip in and your foot could get burned to bits.
The ground here doesn't hold you, and you can't tell which parts are safe.
That's the best safety lesson I've ever heard. I mean, not for Bumpass.
Here's the fourth rule Lassen broke. For decades, scientists called this mountain done, finished. But after 27,000 years of relative quiet, aside from the bubbling mud pots, in 1914 the mountain started erupting. A local man named Benjamin Loomis didn't leave. He walked towards it. He took his box camera and his glass plates, and he photographed the volcano erupting and sent pictures to anyone who would look. Now, there was a congressman named John Raker who had been fighting to make Lassen a full national park for years. Teddy Roosevelt had already named parts of it a national monument back in 1907. But monuments don't get the same funding or protection. But Loomis's photographs changed that. They were so clear, so unbelievable to people back then that they made the difference. In 1916, Lassen Volcanic National Park was established.
Because of the photos?
Well, you know that saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So here's what's happening 3 to 5 miles under our feet. Down where the water superheats, the pressure underground is so intense it keeps the water liquid well past its boiling point. Then it fights its way up. Think about it like our Instant Pot. You know how it gets everything scorching hot under pressure, and then you release the valve, and that's what's happening here, but on a geological scale. Remember what Dad said, water boils at 212 degrees. But that steam vent over there, big boiler, it runs at 322 degrees Fahrenheit. And the underground water reservoir feeding it is heated to over 450 degrees. And that leads us to the fifth and last rule. When we go camping and we need to make water that's safe to drink, what do?
We boil it.
Right, because living things are supposed to die in boiling water. Bacteria, viruses, anything that could make you sick, boiling water kills them. That's the rule. But see that orange tint over there? Do you know what those are called?
Those are archaea. They're single-celled organisms so different from anything else we call life on Earth that they have their own category. They're not bacteria, and they're also not animals. They thrive in acid at temperatures that would sterilize anything else on Earth.
Some of them belong to the oldest lineages of life that we know of, close to the relatives of the very first life on this planet.
They live in boiling water on purpose.
It's the only place they want to be. And those archaea are exactly why the next part happens. Now, normally, where does space exploration happen?
In space.
Right. That's how it works. You build a rocket, you go up, you look around. But in this case, NASA comes here. The conditions in these pools, acid, extreme heat, pressure, no oxygen, are a lot like what scientists expect to find on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons.
And don't forget Enceladus, one of Saturn's moons.
Both have liquid oceans under their ice. And if life exists there, scientists think it might look a lot like what's making that orange color over there right now. There's even a program called the Astrobiology Student Intern Program, and it's a partnership between this park, a high school in Red Bluff, California, and NASA's Ames Research Center. High school juniors and seniors come out here with NASA scientists.
You mean kids get to do space science?
They collect samples from these exact pools. They run experiments. They do real research on how volcanic environments affect microscopic life and what that might tell us about life on other planets.
Mom, that's kind of like the WAVE podcast we just recorded, where Utah and Arizona are being studied to learn more about Mars.
Exactly like that. These extreme environments are where scientists find out that what they thought was a rule isn't. Or maybe it's just a little different. That's how science works. You find the place where a rule bends or breaks, and you learn something new. Every few generations, a scientist looks at something that everyone accepts as true and says, wait, what if we're missing something? Sometimes those people get laughed at, and sometimes they turn out to be completely right. That's what's happening in these pools right now. Scientists and high school students are showing up to a park that most people skip, kneeling next to a puddle that smells like rotten eggs, and asking, what could this teach us about outer space?
So what can we do?
What can we do? Lassen teaches us that when the going gets tough, we gotta get scrappy. A years-long fight for a national park was won by just 6 photographs. When they found out the ground couldn't hold them, they built a boardwalk over it. When scientists couldn't reach the outer edges of the solar system, they found the closest thing we have right here on Earth, a stinky puddle in Northern California. And when the main trail is closed, what do, guys?
We go around the back way.
This episode was recorded on the ancestral lands of the Atsugewi Mountain Maidu, Yana, and Yahi peoples, who have been on this volcanic landscape since time immemorial. Their descendants remain connected to this space. Learn more at lassenlpa.org. For show notes, activity guides, and ways to support Lassen Volcanic Park, visit roamschoolfamily.com.